It is Friday, July 1st, 2022. This is another edition of Baseball Today presented to you by Shady Rays for not only the best looking sunglasses in the business, but if you break them or you lose them, even on day one that you own them, they'll replace them. That is my man, T. Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Rob, and intern Alden are along for the ride as well. We want to thank you wherever you are consuming the content via podcast form on our YouTube channel or live on the AMP app on your iPhone. Thank you very much. Plouffe, as we just started off, noticed I have changed up my background. What do you think of it?
I'm still getting used to it. I like that you're repping us for sure. I see that. Yeah. I just want to know what those things are. Are they stickers? What do we got?
Yeah, they're the decals from our floorball tournament.
Yeah. See, now I like them more. Okay.
Yeah, and if you
when did you steal those things?
Did not steal them. Okay. Bill gave them to me. He was like, "Do you want some of these?" I was like, "Yeah, we'll take them." And Michelle had the ingenious idea of putting them on jerseys to make them pop like that.
Bam.
Yeah.
Michelle's got all the good ideas. There's no doubt.
Sure as hell. Everything except marrying me was a top-notch idea.
You're a media superstar, bro. Come on.
Not quite. Not quite. I am wearing a Cincinnati Reds cap, not because they had a wonderful month of June, because they did not, but rather because I want to almost give my monthly shout out to Joey Votto for making some kid's day. And it happened on the north side of Chicago on Thursday night. Here he is in the on-deck circle, giving the kid fist pumps and all that sort of stuff. You can see the kid's wearing a Cubs jersey, but he's got a huge smile on his face. And so what does Votto do? Later in the game, he ends up going deep. And more than just walking back to the dugout and just staying in his own world, which a lot of pro athletes do because that's what they get paid to do. As he circles the pillows, he goes up to the kid and gives him 10. Joey Votto, you have turned into a baseball god.
We talk about stuff like this all the time here, Chris. Like this is all you got to do to make a kid's life. Like that kid is going to remember that for the rest of his life. That's not like hyperbole. Like he'll remember that for the rest of his life. And even yesterday we were saying, maybe we, find a way to get some of these families down real close so they can see the action for moments like this. If you told the players that, hey, we're bringing down a family, we're going to switch them out every single inning. They're going to sit right here. That you mind interacting a little bit with them. Players would have no problem with that. When you're on the on-deck circle, you're paying attention. There might be some moments in the game where, you really need to lock it in. But in between innings, when the guy is just warming up, like go say what's up. Like this is the stuff that's going to create lifelong fans, and we need to do more of. I think players are realizing that for their own brand's sake. Like, Joey Votto is on social media now, and he wants to be more engaging with the fans. But this overall helps baseball too. So, I think Joey's getting it. Some of the guys in the league are getting it, but I think Major League Baseball as a whole needs to adopt this as well.
Yep. It was great. More and more. We see more and more. Yes, sir. Go ahead, caller.
Finish that. Before we start, I have something to say.
All I was going to say is we've seen more and more of it with players and fans having great interaction. And yes, I'm all in favor of it. And we will continue to highlight it on this show because that's what we do. Yes, Mr. Plouffe.
Today, is the 3-year, anniversary of my good buddy Tyler Skaggs passing. Mm-hmm. I keep his card here, the pin here, always with me recording. It's always up here on my shelf. So I don't know. Just wanted to give a shout out to Tyler. I always often think on I think about him every single day, but especially on a day like today, what would he be doing? Like, how much fun would he be having with Shohei and Trout? And where would their team be with him? And I know he'd be having so much fun. And, it really hits home, obviously, on today. So, opioid awareness, man. Like, if you know someone that's doing that, talk to them, help them get help. Like, people that were around him that weren't saying shit, it makes me really upset. So, I don't know. I guess that's my rant. Love you, Ty. Think about you every day, bro.
It's not a rant. It's appreciated words. We're really sorry that you have to go through this and his family.
I'll see them tonight. We'll get together. So
good.
Yeah.
Tell them their baseball community.
He'd want us to move on. I know that.
I know. It ain't easy. The Angels will be in Houston tonight, and the Astros won that dramatic one-game series against the New York Yankees in a real big scheduling quirk because of the lockout and everything. So the Astros conclude a 9-game set, if you will, against both New York first place teams, and they go 7-2. Were you overly impressed, or hey, kind of expected it?
I think somewhere in the middle. We know the Astros are one of the elite teams in the big leagues, but if I'm not mistaken, Yankees have the best record in the AL and Mets have the best record in the NL, and they just went 7-2 against these teams. I mean, when we look at records and schedules and results for teams, we often look at how do you play against superior competition or teams over 500. The Astros don't care who they play. They have one mission. Like these guys have played a lot together. So I'm very impressed. If you go 500 against in that stretch against those two teams, I think you'd be happy. But to go 7-2 and to pad on their lead in the AL West is impressive. They do it on both sides of the ball. I mean, they can hit, they can pitch, they do everything well. Yuli Gurriel hasn't even really gotten it going yet. He's another added depth piece to their lineup. If he gets it going, you can look at a 1 through 7 that's just stellar. I'm curious, Chris, because I'm kind of on their baseball reference page looking right now. Martin Maldonado's been there. He's been great for their pitching staff. People love throwing to him, but the offense just hasn't been there.
Right.
Is that a place where they look to make an upgrade? Because that's really where else we're going to go. Everyone can use a bullpen piece, sure. But if you're looking on the offensive side, they've gotten 0 from the catcher essentially. And maybe they look to bolster that, but this is a pretty damn complete team.
Yep. They're really good. So a few things. First of all, the Dodgers actually are now a half game better than the New York Mets. Just in case you're curious, I don't want people throwing in the chat.
But when they played them, they probably had the best record.
Right, exactly. Yes, that's a good call. 7-2 is kind of where I expected them to be. It's damn impressive, and they're unreal. People could say whatever they want. And by the way, don't give me this whole thing that they should have been 9-0. No, they shouldn't have been, because you blow games late, and it happens. Does it mean that they had a chance to go 9-0? Absolutely. They really
Aaron Judge
did.
happened. Aaron Judge happened.
Right. And the Yankees and Aaron Judge happened, who's a very good baseball player, by the way.
He's a very good baseball player.
He's an exceptional baseball player.
He's the second best player in the AL right now.
Holy shit. Yesterday's episode, it was like don't misinterpret what we said. Neither of us said that Aaron Judge sucks. What I did say is that Shohei is more important to baseball because of what he's doing. And I based that on, people are like, oh, you're so wrong for saying that. I don't think so. In part because the guys I talk to, I almost ask every guest I have on the Rose rotation about Shohei Ohtani. And you know what they all say to me universally? I am so thankful I get to play in an era where I'm competing against Shohei Ohtani, because we won't ever see that again. That is not a slight on Aaron Judge. That is raising up the stature of Shohei Ohtani and what we're seeing. I digress, though.
That's it. I mean, in 100 years, we'll still be talking about Shohei Ohtani. Yankees fans probably will be talking about Aaron Judge as well. But the baseball fan, general baseball fan, this is like a guy that's just, again, we don't know what we're seeing because we've never seen it. But
right.
And when we get done with his career and we look back, we're gonna be like, holy shit, what just happened?
But man, did the Yankee Twitterverse get defensive yesterday, including a few people we work with. Wow.
Yeah, Joe's was texting me saying hey man, no offense, we're cool, right?
Yeah. Listen, I don't give a shit. It's strictly an opinion. It doesn't mean that I'm right. It's just what I believe. So for people to be like, oh, you're wrong. Fine. You can say I'm wrong. Or for people to say that's unfair that you're saying it. No, it's not, because I'm just saying it. Doesn't mean I'm right. Just that's what we do here, people. Don't take it so seriously.
I think we
but
were
let's
right,
continue.
Though.
Very quickly, 2 other points about the Astros. In the 9 games, they gave up 21 runs, 13 of which came in those 2 losses to the Yankees. Other than that, their pitching was unfreaking believable. The other thing I want to get to very quickly, why did our Talking Yanks put out that that Tucker tried to do something shady and steal home on the pitch timeout against Severino?
Great play by Sevy.
Great play by Sevy. Time hadn't been called yet.
Yeah, you look for that opportunity all the time as a base runner. When guys are messing around on the mound, sometimes pitchers just forget the world there and they forget they're in a baseball game. They're thinking about the next batter. This obviously was a pitch comm issue, which, this is another reason why I don't like PitchCom. I just can't get on board with it. I know a lot of people like it in the game. Maybe I sound like an old head right now, but I thought it was great, man. Why not try that? And Yankee fans should be happy they gave him an out at home plate.
I mean, they had second and third and 2 outs, and they killed the rally. And Aaron Boone was like, "Yeah, thank you for doing that.
But that
appreciate it."
Seriously, Sevy, that's very impressive because he's got to like reach into his glove, and we know pitchers already don't like to like throw to bases because they're used to make max effort, and that the soft touch throws they don't really do too often. But to do that and be accurate, he had to be accurate. He had to be perfect almost with that throw, and he was.
Yeah,
pretty impressive, dude.
Excellent play by him. I didn't mind the total play by Tucker. I didn't mind it. I thought it was really interesting, and it was fun. It was something we don't see very often.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Hector Gomez reports that the Nationals are closing in on a second big-time offer to Juan Soto. Remember, the first one, I think, was 13 for about $350. This one is 13 for $425. Soto's amazing. Does this mean to do this? Would they be better off waiting until the offseason and trying to get maybe the most massive Herschel Walker-esque baseball trade in history?
I don't think you let a guy like Juan Soto walk away from your franchise. I don't care what prospects you get, what major league ready talent you get, because I mean, two, three people might add the value that one person on your roster does, like Juan Soto. So I think you have to keep him. But I also want to say this: my girl Britt Garali said the report is not true.
Yes.
So I don't know if this was like leaked by an agent, whatever it is. They said this is not true. I do believe they're still trying to hammer something out. I don't think they're going to trade him. Like Rizzo said, they're not going to trade him. You know, there is the whole like possibility of ownership change in Washington. I don't know how much steam that's picked up or what's going on with that. But in my opinion, you need a face of the franchise. Juan Soto is definitely that already, but you need to lock this guy up and build around him, like Mike Rizzo said. You just don't find guys like this. I don't care what prospect package you get. They're not going to equal a Juan Soto. I know he's having a down year to his standards, but like it's hard to play when you got no one around you. Like I know Josh Bell's there and what have you, but showing up trying to motivate yourself for like a bad team is difficult. So I think they need to extend him, do whatever it takes to keep him. And then, let's start the process of putting some players around this guy because it could be really fun in Washington if that happens.
Out of the guys that are under 25, is there any question that Juan Soto, as long as he stays healthy, is going to end up in Cooperstown?
I don't think so.
I don't think
There's
so
no
either.
Question, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like I still worry about, and I would probably put Acuna on that path too. Tatis worries me a little bit with the injuries, but there aren't that many guys where you look at somebody who's under 25, you're like, yeah, I'll see him with a plaque. Like there's no question. On the other side of this, I pulled up the largest contracts in the history of the sport. Do you think the Angels would do 426 again for Mike Trout?
Yes.
Do you think the Phillies would do 330 for Harper?
Yes.
Do you think the Dodgers would do 365 for Mookie?
Yes. Do
you think the Marlins would do 325 for Stanton?
Yeah, it worked out great for them. They traded. I mean, that's a whole different thing. We know what the story is behind that.
What about
Jeffrey Loria? 100% would give that contract out again. Yes.
Garrett Cole 324.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think the Padres would do 300 for Machado?
Yeah,
I think so too.
Like these have worked out. Yeah.
Right.
I was expecting to go the other way on a lot of these.
Me too. That's why I brought it up. And I was like, man, I wonder how many of these contracts that are like over 200 or 250 million, just like the Rockies, Arenado. I mean, he's a Cardinal now and they had to eat 60 million of that contract or whatever. I'm not so sure the Rockies would do it again. You sure as hell would think the Cardinals would.
Yeah, I think some of the big contracts, the ones that don't work out, people always talk about those. They talk about like the Angels giving Pujols that contract and what happens when they get to this age? Well, it's like, we have a league-wide DH now, so that helps. He doesn't have to play really any defense later on in his career, but you only give these contracts to guys who are absolute beasts out there, and that's exactly what Juan Soto is. This guy, I mean, just follow it on social media. read an interview about him. This guy is a rat. He's a baseball rat. It's all he wants to do. He just wants to hit and win games. And, I think that demeanor matched with that high elite skill level that he possesses. I mean, he's a guy that deserves the contract, and I think will fulfill it, and it'll be good for both parties.
And by the way, so we just mentioned whatever it was, 6 contracts or 7 contracts. We're all like, yeah, pretty good. Contracts like 9 through 12 or 13, you look at them. Cabrera getting $248 from the Tigers. Strasburg, 245 from the Nats. Rendon, 245 from the Halos. Pujols, 240 from the Halos. And Robinson Cano, 240 from the Mariners. Those are ones where you'd be like, oops, now I'm kicking myself.
Yeah. I think the jury's still out on the Rendon thing. Like, we'll see how that goes. I mean, obviously, it's gotten off to a tumultuous start there. Pujols is the one everyone references. The Cano, yeah, that's bad. That's a tough one.
And the Miguel Cabrera is the one where they paid him for what he's done. And that's where you really get into trouble. Like, if you're going to pay Juan Soto 13 years starting next year, you're going to pay him for the next 10 years when he could still be elite.
Yes.
You're not, that's where teams make in a lot of sports. They do it a ton in the NFL. They're paying for what you've done instead of what you could do. Mm-hmm. That's where, in my opinion, as a front office, you get in trouble. All right, let's move on.
But as a player, there's no way to like speed that up. Like, if the front office wants to let you go and go through, your entire pre-arb and then arbitration, like that's how the system's set up for you to get paid on what you've done.
No, I know, but if the Nationals want to, he's got 2 more years, I think, Soto, before he becomes a free agent after this. So the time to do this is now.
This dude's 23 years old.
Bro. Unreal. All right,
13-year contract, he'd be 36.
I know. All right, I need cooler state of Pennsylvania moment on Thursday. Pirates backup catcher Michael Perez becoming the 2nd Bucco in as many days and the 3rd in the month of June to have a 3-homer game, or Derek Hall of the Phillies having his first 2 hits in the show leave the yard in the same game.
I told you this one was tough for me before the show.
But you're not going to piss anybody off, by the way.
No one's going to piss. I'm not going to piss anybody off, but I do want to say, at first I was leaning Pirates. I think a 3-homer game is really cool. Especially doing it back-to-back nights. And I think Sawinski was the other guy to do it in June. But then I looked at their record in June. They're 10-18. So what do these homers matter? Like, good for the individual guys. I get it. And then Derek Hall, I was happy. 2 homers to start his career off with the hits. One of them was off a position player. So I'm still going to go Hall because he gets his first hit as a homer. I think it was like his sister and his wife were there. Like, I always love the family reactions to that. So he was wearing the powder blues. It was in a blowout of the division rival. So I'm going Hall, but both of them had the little caveat to them.
Okay. Interesting.
That's my feeling.
So good for Michael Perez, by the way. I mean, how many baseball fans even knew who Michael Perez was before last night? Do you know that coming into the game, he had 11 hits all season? He got 4 knocks, 3 left the yard. I love it. And the Pirates became the first team ever to have 3 different guys have a 3-homer game in the same month. I think it's great. And they've played okay. They're still, I think, 14 games under 500. So it's not like, hey, here come the mighty Buccos. But I thought it was a cool moment for them. Taking down a first-place team. I like that. I think that's sweet. The only thing with Derek Hall that bothers me, it is not him homering off a position player in Mike Ford, who, by the way, I believe he pitched at Princeton.
Well, he was throwing meatballs.
I know he was.
But okay.
I was a little disappointed. For a guy who pitched in college, it kind of disappointed me. The only thing that upset me about Derek Hall, why does he spell his name Darick?
I don't think he chose that, bro. What are you talking about?
I know, but can I talk to his parents? Like, I just don't understand it at all. That just seems like you're just doing it just to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a reason, bro. Maybe like it's Rick, like Rick, but like
Rick. See,
yeah.
Now I'd be on board with that. If it's D apostrophe and then RICK, Rick, how awesome would that be?
Let me give Perez a little shine too, okay? Like, he hits the first 2. One was a lefty slider that Suter left, like, backed up. Next one, righty off speed. So Brewers trying anything at the end of the game. It's a 96-mile-an-hour fastball out too. So he was locked in last night. That's a good feeling to have when you're covering both those pitches like that. And all the homers were bombs too. So like, I liked everything, but when you really break it down, I was like, okay, there's a few things here and there.
By the way, did you know that Hall was the second player to have his first 2 hits be homers in the same game this year?
Ooh, who's the other one?
I think I would give you a $5 bill if you knew who it was.
Give it to me.
Brian Serven, backup catcher for the Rockies.
That was not on my radar right there.
Yeah, that was a no-go. I had to go look that one up. I did not remember. I was like, I think somebody did it, but who? I would never have guessed Brian Serven. No way. Nope. Don Van Natta of ESPN wrote a very interesting column on Rob Manfred, who discussed a bunch of topics, including the perception of him that he hates baseball, what he is trying to do to boost the game into the future, what he wants to see, possible expansion, pitch timer, all that sort of stuff. What was your biggest takeaway from it?
I had a lot of takeaways. I wanted it to be what it was supposed to be, which is like, oh, Rob Manfred's just a human. Like, he's a good dude. Like, let's get behind him. It's supposed to be a fluff piece for him, essentially. To me, it didn't turn out that way. I mean, there's a couple things that I really took away from it. We mentioned this on the Ant portion of the show yesterday. But for him to come out and say that he is a shill for the owners, just a layer against him, I think is how he put it. I think we all knew that, and we've all said that about him. We understand like that's part of the commissioner's job, but like, I don't want a commissioner that sees that as his primary job. The commissioner of baseball's primary job should be to maintain integrity in the game, to move the game forward, to make the game better. And I don't think he's done it. He talks about some things that he wants to do. He wants to be known as the guy that changed the game. But the way he's doing it and the way he's thinking about it, I don't agree with. It's him and a lot of the old guys calling the games right now. Let's bring the game back to how it was in the 80s, in the 70s. He mentions about, how he went to a game in his childhood. Rob Manfred is 63 years old. Okay. His childhood was 50 years ago. Okay. We don't need to bring baseball back to the 70s and 80s. We need to bring baseball into 2022 and into, 2030. Like, we need to progress. Okay. We don't need to go back in time. That's my thing. And like, I can sit here and yell at Rob Manfred, but I need to give some things that I think that would help the game. Number one, I'll agree with Rob Manfred. The pitch clock is good for baseball. I like it. Anyone that's played with it understands it's not that big of a deal, and it does shave quite a bit of time off the games, like 20 minutes to 30 minutes. That's what it's shown in the minor leagues to do. So I'm all about that. But we have to lean more into, we have to make the game accessible. If you buy the MLB app, you should be able to watch every single game. There should be absolutely no blackout restrictions. I hope they're working towards something like that. Number one, put the game in front of people.
He did say that they're working on streaming. He did.
They need to put the game in front of people, but they need to start going into the avenues where people consume content, specifically young people. No young kid is sitting watching cable TV right now. They just don't do it. So nobody's watching MLB Network. Okay. They consume content on all their socials, YouTube being probably the primary one right now. Okay. So why aren't we leaning into the creators? Why aren't we, doing more stuff on YouTube, creating kids shows, like really going after it? Why doesn't every single Little League and Pony League and Cal Ripken League use actual team logos and get packets about the players? Like, let's get this in front of people. These are really easy things to do. We don't need to bring the game back to the 80s. Like, let's just figure out how to make it better going forward. Like, this is, everyone complains. I can go on forever about this. Everyone complains about, the 3 true outcomes, but guess what? Those front offices, and all the people working for the guys that you're shielding, they're hiring data analytical people that are saying, this is what we need. We're paying guys to hit home runs. We're paying guys to strike out people. So why, as a player, would you not want to do that? That's what gets you paid. That's what, they're saying will bring success. So you can't go that way and have the owners hiring all these people to change the game that way and then complain about it. Like, if as long as they're paying for strikeouts and homers, guess what's going to happen with the players? They're going to strike people out and try to hit homers. That's the bottom line. Last thing I'll say, I'll let you talk. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Realignment. That needs to be at the forefront. We need more regional rivalries. Like the divisions and leagues, the way they're set up right now, don't really make a ton of sense. I would go to realignment and create those regional rivalries. I think that's really important for the game.
You would have the Yankees, Mets, Dodgers,
Yes.
Angels, Cubs, White Sox playing 12 times a year.
Yes. 1000%. Yes.
I agree with that. Few things. I want to get back to your first point, which is that he admitted he is a buffer between the owners and whatever negative press they might take. We've known that.
Sure.
We've known that in every sport. That's what they're due. I mean, who pays the commissioner's salary?
It's a big freaking salary too. Just I want everyone to know that. Don't feel bad for Rob. He's making $25 million a year.
I don't know if it's that much.
It's 17 with like bonuses that come out to 25. Yes.
He should get paid a lot.
Okay.
A bunch of years ago, he was making 44 million or whatever. He should. It was the number one sport in this country. It's one of the biggest businesses we've got. He should.
Okay.
He should. And part of that is to be the guy who takes the shots. So you have to say it. Whether or not he should have said it is a different thing. But you know that that's what goes on. I mean, it's part of the reason that Faye Vincent got shit canned as the commissioner was that too many times the owners are like, this fucking guy's embarrassing us. He's making the owners look bad. So they will not keep you in office if you will not do what 30 white guys say. It's that simple. That's what it is. So
I don't know. I would implore everyone to go read the article. It's long, but it's good. I think, it does give a little snapshot into Rob's life and, what he's thinking about the game. The gist is that he's more personable in person, which I guess makes sense. And like whenever he gets, in front of cameras, everything clams up. I don't know. Maybe I'll see him at the draft and I'll have a discussion with him. But
I will say this. I had a decent relationship with him when I was at the network. And that is true. He is more personable. I think one of the great things that they missed out on, one of the big whiffs that they missed out on when he became commissioner was not getting him media training. Somebody was quoted in the article, some unnamed executive said they needed, and he needs that. He needs that.
Yes, he does.
Particularly during the lockouts, some of the things, the uncomfortableness that we saw in front of the camera where he's kind of laughing and joking because he's not comfortable in that role. That's a hard thing. So,
I mean, get comfortable, bro. Like, it's not that hard.
Well, but it is for some people.
Then he needs to realize that himself.
Like public speaking sometimes is like top 3 in terms of people's fears. So if you're going to hire him, make sure he is ready for that part of the job because that has cost him some serious points. We can agree on that, right?
100%. And this whole like tour he's going on, talking to all the teams about, trying to repair relationships. Hey, that should have came a long fucking time ago, dude.
No question.
Long time ago. Don't wait for that.
If he's doing it now, isn't that progress? I'm not trying to sit here and defend him. We can all say this should have happened 5 years ago, and it should have, and you're going to be right. But if the point is to try and correct what was wrong and make sure it doesn't happen again in the future, then don't we have to at least say, okay, he's trying?
I would say 2 things to that. One, it's reactionary, just like a lot of the things that happen with MLB. They need to be proactive. Like, stop letting things happen and then trying to like fix them. Like, be proactive about this. Okay.
That's
number two, after like, the COVID lockout and then this lockout, like, I think that relationship is beyond repair. I really do. Like, you can go try to do it, but it's too late, dude.
That's very
like the animosity between the sides is high. And I know we just got a deal done and now it's like, it's all whimsical, but like people don't forget all the things that went on behind the scenes, all that stuff. Like I talked to a few guys about these meetings and they're just like, oh, whatever. Like we didn't really care.
And that's fine. I totally get it. I understand it. I don't think that's how you make progress personally. I just don't. I mean,
I think it's too little, too late.
Okay, but so how's that help the sport then? Somebody's got to be the bigger man. Somebody, whether it's the players or the league office or whatever. So if we're going to repair the relationship to make sure that frickin' what we had happen in the spring of 2022 doesn't happen again, then somebody's got to suck it up and say, you know what? You're right. Let's forgive. Let's try and move on.
I'll applaud him only if it's genuine and it's for the right reasons, not just to save his ass.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, if it's genuine, he really wants to, like, go and be, have a better relationship with the players. I'm all for it, Rob. You should have done it earlier, but yeah, I agree. At least taking the step. That's nice, but I hope it's genuine.
And I get the skepticism. Totally do. Totally understand it. I understand that if the players feel like we can't trust him and the league moving forward, but there has to be the ability to put that stuff aside to make sure that we as fans don't go through what we just went through.
God, I have so much to say about this.
I know, but we got to go.
One last thing.
Yes.
I want to know how many people that are talking with Rob about the future of the game. Like, what's the median age there? Because we don't need a bunch of 60-year-olds talking about the future of baseball. Like, let's bring in some of the target demo that we're trying to capture and say, what do you guys want? Like, how do you view baseball? How do you, I'm sure they do focus groups and all that, but like, let's have some decision makers that aren't 60 years old, that don't want the game to go back to the 80s. Like, it's okay. Like, people, guess what? Young kids have ideas. And a lot of times they're great, especially in this new technological world that we live in. Rob didn't grow up, with an iPad or an iPhone, dude. Like, things are different. Content is consumed differently. Let's have these people, this target demo, have a say in it.
Well, I can just tell you this. Half the people that work at the network that are on the air, I wouldn't say half, at least a third, though, don't even have social media because they're afraid of it. I don't know how you gauge the temperature of what we're trying to do here. I don't know. All right, whatever. We've gone so long, I don't even think we have time for the last thing. We got to get out of here quickly. What do you have coming up on John Boy?
We're doing the series recap with the boys today. Me, Jimmy, Jake, we're all in it together. BBD in the corner. It's going to be a good one. What do you got?
Glass Now episode is out. Really good stuff. Go enjoy it. He's an easy listen. We talk about it all the time. And right after this show is done, I will be hopping on a Zoom call with Rowdy Tellez of the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm going to try to get him to officially change something about himself. So, yeah.
Okay.
I think he might be up for it. I think we start the campaign today.
You're the best, C. Rose.
All right. Listen, big shout out to our producer extraordinaire, the one and only Robbie Scirocco, our summer intern, Alden Stone. That is T. Plouffe. I'm Chris Rose. Programming note, we will not be around on July 4th. We are taking the day off. Everybody enjoy the baseball, even though there's not a freaking complete schedule, which pisses me off. That's a topic for another day. We will be back on Tuesday, July 5th. Everybody have a good, safe, long holiday weekend. We'll see you soon.